Welcome to the Ascension Stargate podcast series, where we discuss the aspects of human consciousness, spirituality, metaphysics and philosophy, energy, extraterrestrial life, science, biology, and the alchemy of higher states of beingness, all from a heart-centered perspective. I am your host and guide, Glenn Mate, and let's begin our journey. Hey everybody, I'm Glenn Mate with the Ascension Stargate podcast series, and I've got the most special guest today because this guy is like my bestie. He is like my other half. I am so very grateful that this man is here with me today, and I can't say any more that it would be this beautiful person that he is. I introduced you. Welcome, Toni Ghazi, as our special guest today. Thank you. Hi, Toni. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Glenn. I'm doing very well. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. All the sentiments that you just shared, I resonate back to you. I love you, my friend. I'm so excited for your journey and all the other journeys that you're going to be on and the journeys we're going to be on together. So I'm very grateful and appreciative for your audience to hear this, to receive, and for us to co-create a beautiful energy and to remind everyone of their power within and their divinity and the love and the connectedness and all.
Absolutely. And let's start with connectedness. So just about this time last year, and almost to the day, Toni Ghazi and myself were in Sedona. We didn't know each other at this point, and we were at the same retreat. And even though we were at the same retreat, there were so many people, we didn't necessarily get to interact. And it wasn't until almost the very last day where we kind of had an opportunity to talk and just very lightly touch, on who we were and what we did. And it wasn't till almost a few months later, it was like early spring, and I got a phone call. It was Toni Ghazi. And Toni Ghazi goes, "Hey, Glenn, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm Toni Ghazi. I'm the Antarean Heart. I was the man that was wearing, the white and gold. If you didn't remember what I look like." And I said, "Of course I remember you. You bought me dinner. My goodness, thank you." And from that moment on in early spring, we've been blessed with the company of each other to experience so many events together. We co-created the Stargate Crusader retreat together. And we've been on so many personal journeys together where Toni's had expansion, I've had expansion, and we've done all of these crazy things that are just, you couldn't make them up if you wanted to. They're just so mind-blowing. Uh, and we just have such a great chemistry and such a great appreciation for each other. It's just so much fun when Toni and Glenn get together. We get to have we know that some energy is going to happen, right? And we know that some fun things are going to be on our way. So every time that we're together, man, it's just like the best. And I'm so very blessed. And even in our journeys, like one of the things that I've realized when we were doing, these deep journey meditations is it came to me that Toni and I on another planet as mantis beings, as children mantis beings, were playing together. And we had this beautiful relationship as mantis beings, and just so playful, so joyous, jubilation, laughter, fun. And this is the recreation in the human form. And again, I'm so very blessed to be with my bestie Toni. So Toni, I'm just grateful for you.
Thank you.
But yes. So I know Toni very well because we've spent so much time together over this past year. But I want Toni to tell you a little bit about his story and how he came into his awakening and how his journey started to unravel, because it's such a beautiful story from where he started to where he is now. and he's going straight to the stars and to another solar system within the very near future. So, Toni, if you just really like to share some of your story with us, I would be so happy with that.
Thank you, Glenn, for everything. I was about to joke and say, absorb all you can from Tony, because soon he's gonna be this light particles all over the universe. No, but I love Mother Earth. I love my body. I'm learning actually to love my physical body. I'm learning to love this version of me that I'm aware of now, this one, that for so long I have judged, I have like put away, I have neglected. It was the last thing. And that's one of the many lessons that this whole journey is leading me to, really like self-love for me. And each of us has their own journeys, and you'll have many lessons to expand in. But in this exact moment is pure self-love. My journey began in Lebanon. So I was born in Lebanon, the Middle East. And I lived there the first 15 years of my life. And then I moved to Washington, D.C. with my family. And it was 1995. Didn't speak any English, straight to high school. Like, really, mom and dad? Like, the worst time to not be able to speak the language, but having to figure it out. So I figured it out as a kid, and you learn. And you go on, you go to school, college, whatever, all these things. You follow what I know now is the three-dimensional like matrix or like prison, of fear that you have to do this to get here, you have to do this to get there, and to get there you have to do this, 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 and if you don't, you're not going to get there, blah, 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 blah. Go through all that. Until I was 40 years old is when I actually awakened. When COVID hit is exactly like the time when I felt my consciousness kind of began expanding. And up until that point, I was very into the matrix, into the fear paradigm, into lack mentality, into judgment, everything else that we all go through, insecurities, I don't know what else. And I grew up in the Christian religion. So I had Christianity, like Mother Mary, like the Bible, and all these things within my sphere and understanding of religion. But now looking back, throughout that whole journey, I had the best way that I can describe it is this little like dot in my heart. Now I know it's in my heart. I always describe it as here, of like peace and serenity, that everything will be fine. And I didn't live, like my parents aren't wealthy. We're poor. We struggled. We had a lot of challenges. So I didn't have the ease of life that perhaps if like your family had extra finances to alleviate some of those. So even through those dark moments where we kind of struggled, there was still that feeling, like it was right there. It's almost like a dream, like when you wake up from a dream and like you remember something and it fades away, but you know it's there, but then you can't remember, but you know that you dreamt something that was good. It was that like way of feeling. I have something within me that everything will be fine. No idea how things will work out. No idea how it will unfold. No idea what it meant, but that's always been with me. When I awoke and I began learning what channeling is, and like psychics and UFOs and aliens and parallel realities and expansion and like self-empowerment and the light within us and love and light and blah, blah, blah,
Mm.
I began remembering that within me, and I know what it is. It's my own flame, my own power that's always been there, my voice, my God, me. I am God. Like you are God. Everybody's God. This is the like divine within us. So when COVID came, and everybody, of course, my husband is on the news, glued to it 24 hours a day, trying to figure out what's happening in the world. I didn't care to watch TV. I just had this like nonchalant, like, why in the hell is everybody so afraid of? Like, no, I just didn't understand why. I didn't subscribe to that fear mentality, and it was weird for me because I've always had fear, and I've always had the lack mentality and all the like limited like mentality, but just somehow I knew it didn't resonate with me without knowing all the details. And throughout that time, because the whole world shut down, and like my work of my line of work, so I'm in real estate and I sell residential like real estate here, in our area. In the first 3 months when the whole like COVID thing happened, we were also unsure what's going to happen in the market. Are people going to buy houses or not? So like there was like a small lull period where we didn't have much work, and because we couldn't go outside or whatever the case may be. And during that time, I was I like began watching TV, and like normally I don't watch a lot of TV because I'm so busy. All these documentaries about consciousness, about meditation, about oneness, about UFOs, about channeling, about psychics, about like life after death, near death experiences, ghosts, paranormal, you name it, everything that's like out there began showing up on the screen, and I was obsessed with all of them. There was one show called the Interview with Extra Dimensionals with Ruben Langdon. That was my specific awakening on the idea of what channeling is. And on that show, like they interviewed 12 or 13 or 14 channelers that have been like doing this for a long time, since the 80s or 70s. And I would religiously like watch it, not really understanding the context of it. Obviously, you understand the English, but you can't put the pieces together because it's like so much information coming at you, this dam of information just flooding your way, and you don't even know how to process it. But I wouldn't not watch it. I watched it obsessively for 2 or 3 months and I stopped. And then I realized in retrospect that within that first year, during that 3 months where I watched like religiously these like channeling, these like channelers, that I infused my consciousness with all these terms and understandings, and they were being unlocked little by little on the next journey within the year, right? And like, and to make a long story short, I take one channeling class that just happened like synchronistically, and it was six, like we met 6 times. It was once a week for 2 hours for like 6 weeks on Zoom. It was with like 6 other people, and immediately, like from the first class, I knew it's a thing that I want to do, that I enjoy doing, because I could feel the connection. And my proof to me that when I began practicing how to channel in that class, my like solid proof is my stuttering. So I stutter, and I've always stuttered. And like when I was a child, I started very, very bad till I was the age of 25, like very bad. And like and there's all forms of stuttering. Like my stuttering is where the word would not come out. I'd be like I'm a mute basically. And of course you go through um, intense emotional trauma. You sweat, you have tunnel vision, you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed, you're broken, all these things. But when I channeled for the first time, and when I came out of the channeling state, I realized that I channeled with fluency. I didn't stutter at all. And that was the first time in 42 years, 42 freaking years. Like if you multiply it by 300 like 65 days, how many ever days, multiply it by how many ever minutes are like per day, I would stutter. For the first time ever, I didn't stutter. And I felt the most free, like it was the most amazing feeling ever, because I've always longed not stutter. But that to me was proof that whatever just happened, you call channeling, like, you alter your state, you go from the gamma, theta, whatever those wavelengths in your brain. I knew that I'm not in my mind anymore, and I'm using another version of me that's ascended, that's higher, that's more expanded, that doesn't stutter. And that to me was truly like the nail in the coffin, and whatever just happened is real. And I just flew with it. And I began practicing like with my friends, with like Mike Shower and Nicolette Morgan. We practiced like with each other every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to midnight, and at times to 2 a.m. Just having fun. We just close our eyes, we channel, we talk, we laugh, or whatever, for 5 months. And that kind of solidified and gave me more confidence into what channeling is, and all the versions of who I am, and all the, because as you channel, you're connecting with other beings, so you're really like forming all these connections. And it just kind of threw me in this world of, I'm ready for this. And in July of 2023, which was last year, not this past July, but like the one before, I woke up at night, and like one of my things that would happen is I sleep very well. I can get up and like pee 8 times. I can go straight to bed. But like during the or go to the bathroom. But listen, we're all humans. We all pee. Welcome to my world of no filter. Um, and I would always go to bed with ease, like with no issues. But then, like when I was waking up, I mean, I'm sorry, in my awakened journey, what I realized is I would wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm doing mindless stuff. Like I'm exhausted physically. I want to go to bed. I'm like, shit, I have work tomorrow, and I'm trying to be like, how can? And I cannot sleep. So I'm on my phone, just wasting time on Facebook, on TikTok sometimes, or on Instagram, or I'm just Googling stuff. I'm responding to emails, whatever. I'm just filling time to get tired. I really like realized the reason I wasn't able to sleep is because I was getting downloads. And I would get these like epiphanies like during those like moments where I'm up in the middle of the night, can't sleep, and sometimes I'm up from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., all like sporadic times. And like one time, I was called clearly to create a decal on the back of my car that says, I am the Antarean Heart and I channel extra dimensional beings. And like by that time, I had already created a temporary like website, and I put my website and I put spiritual guide literally on the back of my like car. I'm a realtor, and I've never ever placed, I'm a realtor, let me help you sell a house ever, and I'm not called to do that. But for whatever reason, in Washington, D.C., in this conservative town, I was called to plaster the back of my car with like those decals, with aliens, with Bigfoot, with like a mantis being, with like spaceships, and I go on. That to me was my declaration, like to the universe, that I'm ready like for this new chapter, like for this new version of me, and everything else, literally the gates of abundance, like opened up. In the sense, I began becoming like aware of all these events that I had no idea like existed, like Disclosure Fest, LA Conscious Expo, holistic. Like there's all these expos that are all about health and wellness and UFOs or whatever. Like Contact in the Desert. No, like I absolutely had. It wasn't. I had no clue they even existed. All of a sudden would appear, and I would be humbly invited through some dialogue, and they would accept me as a praying mantis channel. And I'm like, I just began my journey. I just awoke really and began channeling 4, 5, 6 months ago. I'm not Bashar. I'm not these big boys. Like I don't have any credentials. I don't have any followings. But somehow they heard me when we talked for a few minutes, and they just felt the frequency and vibration you need to be there. And that just changed my whole world to where I began going to events. I don't know, I've been to 10 events. I have an event every month almost until next June. Uh, been on like 30 podcasts. There's more podcasts I'm going to be on. I'm in the process of writing a book. It will take a little bit of time because I've been quite busy with like all the travel. We created our private retreat, like with Glenn. We have other things. We have podcasts going on, like personal podcasts, his podcast. Like it's just been a whirlwind of like of synchronicities, and really it's communication from the universe, like saying you are ready. This is your place in the world. Keep speaking your truth. Keep speaking your mind with no expectation. And I actually have no expectation. I've relinquished the idea of expectation and just going with the flow. But what I'm realizing, as busy as we could get, because apparently there are a lot of these events that I had no idea there's more to exist. I'm really like realizing to pause and to slow down and to also give time for Toni. And this has been my lesson this year: self love, self reflection, and time for me. Because I'm automatically like wired to assist and help others and support in any capacity. I was never wired or taught myself or brought the attention to paying attention to me. So I'll stop here. I think there's a lot of information. And
That's super important, Toni. And you hit on a bunch of golden nuggets. And I just want to backtrack a little bit. The epiphany that happened with your decal when you applied that to the back of your vehicle, how did people start reacting to you when you were bringing clients in, or just, the regular happenstance of, you know, moving and living and driving around? Can you expand a little bit on all of those interactions?
thank you for asking that question, because it's a beautiful question. And I'm so happy that you asked, because I mean, I even forget about these moments, right? Because you're being in the now moment, but now you're bringing me back to to those moments. One little tidbit, like just to add of what gave me the confidence to like put that decal is I had one past life regression 8 months before that where I connected with the praying mantises through hypnosis, and I knew then there was an absolute knowingness. No one on earth, not a being in creation, can come to me and say you don't belong to. I know these are my people. I know I lived as a mantis. Like that solidified who I am, and that gave me. It's not even courage because courage is really like stepping over like fear. It's just like knowingness. That was who I am, and I could not exist anymore in this world without at least plastering that aspect of me to the world. Like not caring whether they receive it, they get it, they understand it, it didn't matter. I needed to remind myself every time I get in the car, that's who I am, or that's a version of who I am. So I'm driving, and I'll bring real estate like in a second. I get cars honking, crazy stuff like that, and like they wave and like we believe, we believe. I had this one moment where where I had pulled up like to a red light, and there was this big suburban that had the music blasting. I thought it was like college kids, because we live like right next to American like university, and I thought like these are college kids that are just having a good time, like they have a big car, like a big suburban. And as I pull up and I look on my right, the windows are down. A mom is actually driving the suburban with two girls that had freckles, the redheads. They were probably about like 10 years old, and like they were just having a blast. Like they were listening to whatever like mom was had the music, and they were just having a blast. As I passed them on the right side of my car, I have like a crystalline version of a gray alien. The girls like saw and they screamed. Like we're both kind of pulling up, and they have the window, and I kind of had my window down just to listen to their song. And they screamed, and I looked at them like, and literally they said, "We believe, we believe, we believe." And then I went like in front of them like a bit, and like they saw the back of my car, and then like the mom kind of passed me, and as they're in front of me and I'm behind them, the girls were waving the whole time until we separated, and I'm getting chills. Like I have chills on my arm because it was the most beautiful sight, and I realized then what an activator that like decal is. Like I would notice people like look and like look back sometimes, or like I would notice people on the road as they're walking, like pointing like at like my car to say, oh, it's an alien, or whatever the case may be. It's a most beautiful sight. The other experience is I have clients that come in my car and I show them houses from all over the world, right? So I help a lot of international like people like with the World Bank. So they come from every country that you can imagine, every language, every religion, every denomination, every belief system. And you cannot escape the decal because it's not a decal, it's the whole advertisement. That's the first thing they see. And I was blown away how every single one of them was open to speak about it, whether they believe it or not. They were so receptive to hear my version because like my version was coming with just love and my beingness, and I wasn't trying to convert them or change them or have them like believe. I was just recounting my story to them. This is it. Like they were just hearing a story. But a lot of them were so receptive, open, and it just opens up this dialogue of beyond humanity, beyond the identity of who you are. If you're a physicist, if you're a scientist, if you're an economist, if you're a financial advisor, I don't know, if you're this and that. It goes beyond that and brings you back to your humanity and connectedness and universe and energies and consciousness. And it just became who I am. And I go to all these like organizations. I do like real estate seminars with all these symbols. And I'm speaking of corporate, like the World Bank is the World Bank, it's and a lot of other organizations where everybody's in suits and they're economists and PhDs and very, very like regimented in their like bureaucracy. And like they see this, and I really feel like it like they're shocked initially at, oh, and like they think that it's religious, and oftentimes like they're afraid to ask because they don't want to offend me on how they ask the question. But oftentimes they're very receptive, and you see a smile is what I call you, smiling with your eyes without saying a word. And I know it's activating them. I know it's helping them remember that they are more than like the title like that they are. They are more than if you're a father or a man or whatever it is. It breaks these like to me breaks away what society said you should look like in any setting. And I've embraced really being myself everywhere I go. Even in my communication, I use emojis. I'm like the emoji king, like they tell me. Every person, a human, like I call it, a CEOs, executives, in between, in real business settings, and they love it. Because I'm like, yes, I want to add emotions to my text. I don't want to just send you a text that's blah and like boring and like neutral. I want you to know what state I'm in. And it brings a smile to their face. Their wall breaks down. They remember they're human, right? It's just, it's been stepping into your version of who you are and not really caring what the world thinks illuminates, really, like others, because it helps them break away from like the paradigm that they built they should be in like society and the media and all these things.
And I love that story because it just shows when you stand in your truth, when you stand in the self knowing of who you truly are, nothing else matters. And when you've done that, you've been the catalyst for change, for people to open up, to receive, to have a new perception, to, take some of that Toni Ghazi courage and say, I want to do that for me. So thank you for being such a positive pillar of light that is new and refreshing because we need the change in the world where we're going today. We need to lose all of those old paradigms that aren't serving us anymore. We need to bring in some fresh new ideas because the old ones just aren't working. And that's clearly evident. And, I'm so grateful that I've had this relationship that most people don't get, with you. Uh, so, all of our growing has been together. And, even with the things that we've been able to co-create together and what we're continuing to co-create in the very near future, we're bringing more change, more options, new things that haven't been done before. And, you know, Toni brings in this great, jovial, happy, loving, compassionate energy. Just, when you get a text from Toni, you're like, oh, look at all these crazy emojis in between the text. So it's not like it's just a text message and there's a few, is here and there. It's like it's in between the words. So, I think that's really special. And, we could exemplify that because it takes some of the guesswork out of the text, like, well, what is he really trying to say to me? Right? I'm not really, I could take this 18 different ways, but
Yes.
because you're more expressive this way and in a playful way, that it takes the guesswork out. Like, oh, I know Tony's mood. I know exactly where his head is right now.
Totally. And if you don't get any emojis, like something is wrong.
All right,
Okay, he's
something's
not
wrong.
in the yeah.
No emojis. All right, that's a
Yeah,
serious.
he's a little stressed out.
Oh, this
No,
is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Thank
So,
you.
Toni, we've been together on so many amazing journeys. Would you like to share the story when you came to visit? We were starting to shoot the video for the advertisement for the Stargate Crusader retreat, and we were in a sacred site. Remember that when we did our ceremony in that um, stone circle, speaking of the
Yes,
equinox and the
yes,
solstice, how
yes.
that particular area where we were, do you want to share a little bit about that amazing story and all of the things that we experienced?
Oh my God. Okay, so welcome to my world. My husband always like makes fun of me that he says like your memory is really bad. Believe me, I have a lot here that I could remember, but it does go in and out based, you can call it selective memory, selective spiritual memory. Um, I remember the event, but I don't remember exactly. But the moment you begin speaking, it will all like, unravel. So which specifically are we talking about?
So after we went to the stone circle, we did our ceremony with Anubis,
Yes.
right? And then we were walking and we saw that ravine, and we were standing at the ravine, and then you kicked something.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That's all you need to say. Okay, so guys, listen to this. So we go to the sacred site that's, I don't know how many, like 14,000 years old, whatever they said, and there's all these stone, it's not stone hinges, but stone like markings. And anyways, a very old place, and it's historic slash whatever you call it. And we had to walk like 20 minutes to get there in the middle of the woods. So it's not near a road. I mean, it's off a road, but you had to walk like you had to walk 20 minutes in the woods. Like we're deep in the woods. We got there, and there all kinds of beautiful like synchronicities, happened and occurred. And we get to this kind of cliff. There's trees and stuff, but there's this big drop, and I'm going like, I'm not going down that drop. Thank you. I'll just stand here and look. I'm not afraid of heights, but it was quite steep. I'm like, I don't want to fall and break my leg today, especially when we're 20 minutes away. And like I think we look to our left and we see, or I think everybody else like sees something, but I see what like looks like a long stick that was made out of metal, and I'm going like, that's weird. And I think somebody like picks something up, and then I'm like, Glenn, like look at this, and Glenn picks up this what I thought like was a stick, because it's kind of like riveted or like ribbed, or it had this cool like texture that almost seemed like a big stick, but it was made out of metal, or I guess iron or whatever it is,
Mhm.
long, like 6 foot high, and like to me, it felt the energy, a staff of light. And we were just talking to Glenn, like we were dialoguing as like we were walking about light language or him or something. Immediately, I'm like, Glenn, this is your staff of light. This is like, it was so clear. But like you have to remember, at that point, we haven't put the two together. And Glenn realizes what he's holding in his hand is a roof hook, I guess it's called.
Mhm.
So Glenn is a firefighter. Was in that industry for like 40 years. And it's this big piece of metal where you unshackle roofs or break roofs or whatever. What is that thing doing 20 minutes away in the middle of the woods, not a house nearby, not a structure nearby? Why would like a firefighter leave such an important like tool as part of the firefighting thing in the middle of the woods? And that's the only thing that I would like, absolutely, you cannot make this up. I knew immediately that's the staff of light. Glenn grabs it and he holds it and he begins kind of walking on it. And as we're walking on the journey, we pass a stone that has a phoenix embedded on it. And the Stargate Crusader retreat had the rising phoenix, like yes, there you go, the blue thing on his shirt. Like we're talking in the middle of the woods, guys, like not even near civilization. Like what is that doing there? This is not like absolutely insane. And of course, Glenn, a few months later, as we were preparing to do the like retreat, gets called to embellish this beautiful staff that he was gifted truly from the gods, from his own being, and like painted it and added light language and added like some shamanic like aborigine threads. And it is not was, and I don't know if you're able to show it here, but maybe like we'll show it on another episode, or you can have a picture. The most beautiful, and this staff, guys, is heavy. It's like 8, 10 pounds, like pure metal. And he goes on the ground, and you feel like there's like power, just like crazy stuff. They cannot make this stuff up. And what a beautiful like synchronicity that out of all the paths we took, out of all the decisions that we made, out of all the stops that we decided to stop, that we stopped literally a few feet away from it. For me to look to I had no reason to look to the left. There's just like leaves and sticks and trees all along. Like I should, why would, like you wouldn't even think to look anything on the ground. It's just rocks and stone and leaves. But I looked there and I saw it, and it just became so. It's just crazy stuff like that, guys. You cannot make up. But that tells you the activations that we're getting, the gifts that we're getting from the universe, and really the reflection, the activations that are happening through our hearts, the projector that's illuminating out there in those permission slips, in those tools of remembrance.
Right. And when we're in that state of flow, that synchronicity just really shows up in many different ways that is always mind-blowing.
Yes.
And if for us, for Toni and myself, and when you add in, either Nicolette or some of our other friends or Aurora, um, this you're bound to be in the midst of some magic because we we are so grateful to be in that flow, and these amazing synchronistic events happen that you couldn't recreate, you couldn't tell a story, that is that original. It just
Yeah.
happens that way.
Yeah.
So we're so lucky to have this relationship and to co-create, and it's just so much fun. I mean,
Yeah.
even our last trip, just a couple, right, last week, last week,
8 hours ago.
you know, we had, another amazing epiphany, some really good growth for us, and we were both on the receiving end this time instead of providing, guidance and information for other people. And again, we were just so blessed to receive exactly what we needed to hear, exactly what we needed to experience, in all the right moments with all the right people, and you couldn't replicate it any other way. It would have been totally different. And we just had such an expansive time where, Toni, if you want to tell about some of the expansive moments that had this past week.
Yeah, so we did a ceremony, and out of honor for the ceremony, we won't go into great
Right.
details, but we did a ceremony that allows your mind to expand, to step out of your body, let's say. And through that experience, my specific lesson, my specific remembrance, the remembering of who I am was really about self-love, which has been the theme of exploration for me this year. This year, I like realized I never loved myself. I never cared enough for myself. I never valued myself. I always kept myself last. I took care of every possible soul I could take care of in my surroundings and not me on every level that you can imagine. I put energy there and I left myself at the end to where I burned myself out or whatever you call it. So my challenge this year of expansion was to self-love me. But if you've never self-loved yourself, you really don't know what self-love means. You understand intellectually like what it means. You try with words. Intellectually, you're understanding what you're doing, but there isn't the experiential, and you don't know what it is. If it's the first time, you may already do it and you're not aware of it. So this whole year has been quite explorative in that aspect. But this retreat that we went to, where we received the healing, for me was for the first time being able to physically love myself,
Mm.
to be able to touch every part of my human existence and see love in who I am, love just everything about what makes me like physical and non-physical. And the next journey that we did the next day was a next level up of like the same ceremony, and that put me in a consciousness state of who I am, where, to be transparent, I moaned and screamed, like moaning. Like if you ever heard somebody like moaning, like out of pleasure in, like, let's say sexuality, right? Like within the act of sex, like moaning, that like moaning. But if you take out the sex part of it out and just pleasure, I was able to be the consciousness that I am and have pleasure with every aspect of who I am. The sound of who I am, I had pleasure hearing. The sound of who I am, I had pleasure to belt out from the depth of my throat for like 45 minutes. And the more that I scream out this moaning of pleasure, the more pleasure is reverberating and being created in the universe over and over again. And I was able to see myself in these many infinite facets, all these eyes, all these birds, all these animals, everything screaming at once with pleasure. And as I'm speaking right now, it almost feels like centuries and centuries and centuries and lifetimes of non-self pleasure all emanating at once to fill that the cups of every single aspect that I lived, every timeline that I lived, my ancestral like lineage that's never had self-pleasure was all emanated during that ceremony. It was one of the most beautiful, like symphonic, it was like a symphony of my voice multiplied by infinity that I was hearing myself. And the more I hear myself, the more I have pleasure, the more it's created more. Like it was insane. That's the best way that I can describe it. And it's been beyond eye-opening. It's just been, I'm speechless. Hopefully you can feel the energies. It's just been, there's not a word to describe to describe it. I'm
Fine.
like stuck. The idea of bliss, it was described, multiply that by infinity. I don't think we know what bliss is unless you surrender into your consciousness. So, what a gift for myself that I created for me. But the key elements were there to allow that portal to open for me. Every being, Glenn, Nicolette, the other beings that were there, I won't mention name just like out of respect and privacy. The other seven beings that were there, or we were six total, I think, or seven, whatever
Yeah.
it is. All the other beings and the geographic location where we were, everything had to come together so perfectly designed to allow me the support, because everybody was there supporting me through my journey, allow me the support to be able to experience this openness. At like one point, as I was screaming, I saw energy, like massive energy come out of my mouth. Like almost like a Marvel movie where like somebody goes ah, and like energy comes out. It was like that. It was crazy. But it was all because of the co-creation of the specific beings that had to be there to help me be in that state, to allow the complete surrender to be able to feel the infinite bliss that I was in. Um, and each one of us had their own healing in that moment from their own perspective, very different, but very powerful.
And
I,
so important, Toni,
yeah,
I think that you were the initiate of this experience to open the portal of consciousness for so many people
yeah,
who want to know what self-love really is, right? Both physically, both energetically, viscerally, because when we look in the mirror, we don't like the way we look. Oh, I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm too that. My hair is too this. It's not that. I want to go this. I don't like my eye color. I don't like my skin color. I'm too short. I'm too tall. But as the viewer, through your experience, it was such an honor and such a beautiful experience to be involved with, to see the opening of that portal, to see the opening of you, to show how expansive and wonderful of a person you are, and how much love that you actually do have for yourself now that wasn't necessarily 100% present before. And
yeah.
now there's no question, it's there. It's here. And
It's here.
it's given you the perspective to really retrospectively look at your life and say, do I need to make some changes so I can continue my growth and so I can continue my expansion? And in that self love, I have more to give, I have more to offer people. And that's, such a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that journey for you because I know that it's going to grow. This is just the beginning. And I like to always say the ripple effect. So when we take that stone and we drop it in the water, we never know how far that ripple is going to go, who it's
Yeah.
going to reach.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that because for like the ones that know me for years, I've worked practically 24 hours a day, every
Mhm.
single day. I love what I do. I'm very immersed. I created this world that I need to be there for all of my clients any time of the day. And even when I decide to take a vacation or take some time off or whatever, I would feel anxious because I have created this whole paradigm that I have to be there for them. And if I'm going on vacation, which even though I went on vacation, I still worked. It was this loop of I chained myself to all my clients, and I didn't cut the thread at times to allow myself the time that I needed. So after this journey, this past weekend or like the weekend before, I came back home like realizing no more, no more working weekends. I mean, I still have to work like, I still would include some weekends, but it's important for me to also carve time for me by myself, to be away from my phone. Like I'm tethered to my phone. The moment I'm up, I'm holding my phone and I'm already beginning to work. I've never, like for the first time, like when I came back, I didn't touch my phone at all. I woke up, I left it for 2 hours. And my day began 2 hours later. It was the most beautiful, freeing thing ever.
Mm.
Like little things like that aren't little, really, they're big, will change your life because you realize then, oh, the whole world didn't break down, the whole world didn't explode, the whole world didn't um, like crumble. They're still fine. You'll get to them when you get to them. Um, and that's my active self-love, that I need time for me, right? It's not always, it's important to create boundaries, right? Yeah,
Right. Healthy boundaries
healthy
and
boundaries.
healthy restrictions where we don't let everybody come into our circle 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Because, when the cup runneth dry, there's nothing left to give, right?
Yes.
And if we don't take the time to rejuvenate ourselves, to have those healthy boundaries in a loving way, right? In a loving, compassionate way, then we just burn out. And because light workers have a tendency to give, 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 you know, the candle runs short on both ends really quick. And we know that that doesn't help our physical human health, and nor does it help our mental well-being. And it probably really constricts our ability to be connected to source.
Yes, and we're not being like fully present with us because what I'm realizing also, or like what I have realized after the ceremony is what drove me before to work 24 hours a day practically and be there for my client and create the story for myself that I have to be there for them is if I'm not there for them, then I may lose a client. The fear of losing,
Right.
fear was the generator, although it served me well, it didn't serve my self-love. But that also like showed me that okay, I don't value myself enough to say, regardless of the fear of lack, that my self-worth needs the time, that I am also a client of me, right?
And you're the biggest client, right?
And I'm the biggest client because without me, none of this will happen.
Right.
But it was just this like program in the back of your mind. Keep working harder and harder and harder and be there for your clients and they have to be satisfied and whatever. And I enjoyed being there for them. And it's good and dandy and fine and great, but also don't forget about yourself. And that's what I'm learning this year. And like Glenn knows this, after we came back from this retreat, I began restructuring my whole life where like this weekend I in a sense barely worked. It was a little like different because I'm not used to not being up early and da 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 for 10 hours constantly. Um, there's a relearning of what it means to be me. There's a relearning and re-identifying and reacquainting, and I'm building a relationship with me again and figuring out who I really am.
Right. A
Because
beautiful discovery, right?
yes,
It's a discovery of what can be
yes,
instead of I already know what this is going to be, so I'm just going to do it.
yes.
And that's just another gift. So,
Yeah.
Toni, thank you again for sharing that because I think so many people can really take advantage of that, can hop on this collective consciousness of self-love and opening and self-care and self-compassion and self-understanding in a new way, we're just going to say, that's not me anymore. I don't do that anymore. I've changed. And maybe that's the way I was, but it wasn't serving me. And
Yes.
now today, the new me really loves every, every piece of who I am.
Yes.
So such a great message. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. And let me add just one more thing about
Sure.
judgment. That as you're on this journey of rediscovering yourself and honoring the new version of who you are and being excited to get to know you, at the same time, don't judge the other lives you've lived, the decisions you made, the choices you made. Don't, because judgment separates you. Judgment literally breaks you into
Right.
pieces, and your pieces are floating. They're away from each other. They're like getting away from each other. Honor and love and with compassion all those versions, all those decisions, because everything served you. Everything is an ascended master. The praying mantises always say, you are an ascended master within yourself. Every decision, every choice you make, every person you meet, every butterfly you see, every experience you have is ascended mastery to begin with. So honor those and like thank them and move on to the next ascended version of who you are.
Mm.
And this way, you bring and integrate every part of you into the new version of you with love. And you're not walking away in with new version of you with holes like within you, right? Because you left 5 or 6 or 7 pieces of you in the back because you're like, I'm not looking at those. I made bad decisions then, and this is not good. That's not good. Bring them all back and carry them with you with love. As they are part of you, they always have been, they always will be.
Mm. I love that. Toni, thank you. You know, we mentioned the Mantises, and we didn't necessarily give them an opportunity to speak
Yes.
today. Would you like to see if the Mantis Collective has anything for our audience today that maybe they want to bring in?
Yeah, sure. I had 3 interviews today, I think, so I feel like they've been here a lot today. So let's see what message they. I mean, I don't know. You know how this goes.
Right, we never
So
know.
you never know. So sure. So give me about 20 seconds or so,
Thank you, brother.
and we'll see what comes through. And from the Antari Stargate, we come through in this way to co-create with you this beautiful reality of oneness, to merge our hearts with your hearts, to be one with your energies in this now moment of creation. And as we come through in this way, we would like you to bring honor, privilege, unconditional love, compassion, a hug
Mm.
to every mask, to every costume that you have worn in this reality and other realities that you are able to remember. That every choice that was made, every costume that was chosen, and the choices that were followed on the vibration of that costume are all perfectly designed to get you exactly where you are today. And that's why it's important to honor those pieces of who you are, those versions of who you are that have passed you. Because when you do, you know that because of those actions and choices and decisions, you are here today, the ascended aware master that you are. And through that point of awareness, you bring forth all these ascended beings with you on your journey as you take the next step in your ascension. Should you make a choice and a decision to keep away the versions of you that you judge, that is also okay by creation, as creation never judges you, never judges any of the decisions that you make. But know that as you make the next step on your journey, as the ascended master that you are, without the other versions of who you are, there will be a point in time in your near future, on the next now moments, where you will face again those versions of who you are. Because you will then realize the only way that you are able to see yourself as the complete version of the infinite that you are is when you bring every piece that you have left behind back to your heart in the now moment of your creation. The loop will never end. The cycle will never end. Because the destination truly is to be able to get to know the many versions, the infinite versions of who you are, and bring every single one of them with love and compassion. And as you do, you in a sense collect them all into your heart, painting anew the complete version of who you are. So challenge yourself to speak to those versions of who you are. Challenge yourself to remember the decisions that you have made, that you have judged, and begin seeing them from an ascended mastery point of view. That without that choice that I made then, that I am judging now, I would not be here today, the ascended master that I am. And with that, we thank you for this beautiful co-creation of oneness and for allowing us to come through in this way.
Thank you, Mantis Being Collective, brothers.
Thank
Thank you, brother Toni, for that wonderful message.
you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn.
I appreciate you being the conduit for the Mantis Being Collectives in which we are a part of,
Yes.
and so grateful to be a part of them. So thank you for bringing that message forward. What a great
Thank,
message it was.
thank you.
We wear so many masks. It's time to collect them just as they said and bring them back into our heart, because we would not be in this moment of now today if those choices were any different.
Exactly. Exactly. And ascended mastery is that, is to be able to go back and view what you previously judged from a different perspective. And when you are truly able to see it from a compassionate, loving heart, that act alone is ascended mastery, because you have already shifted into the new paradigm of infinite, unconditional love. And truly, honestly, from the intellectual aspect of it, you wouldn't be here without all the decisions that you made. It's that simple.
That's right.
That simple. Like, if you think about it, like, yeah, you're right. I mean, if I didn't make all the decisions that I made, I would not be here right now speaking to you. Experiencing everything, sharing everything. I would have had a complete different life, a complete different path, complete different experiences, meeting other people, which in their own right would have been also like, a path and valid. But the idea is, as you ascend and ascend and ascend and expand, And as you bring and become aware of all the versions of who you are, bring them back with you, the ascension will happen at a higher acceleration rate. That's the key of it. Because eventually you'll go back and have to collect every piece of who you are. Because what is ascension? What is enlightenment? Really,
Right.
it's bringing every piece of who you are back to you so you can see yourself. That's what the Mantis says. So you can see yourself as the total being that you are. Because right now you see yourself with holes, HOLE. Like the Mantis beings have said and given me this image. So I was living in the image of this beautiful painting. So like imagine whatever painting, if it's abstract, if it's fields, if it's a bird, whatever, a painting that's all complete and beautiful. That's who you are as a being. When we judge ourselves, we take a piece like out of that painting, another piece, another piece. I place it there, I place it there, da da da. Next thing you know, what was once a beautiful complete painting has holes in it, HOLE, S. But when you go back and bring those pieces back with love and compassion and give them like validity and say, listen, without you, piece that's over there, that I placed you over there because of my judgment,
Mm.
without you, I wouldn't be able to see myself as the complete puzzle in totality. So as you bring it back with love, the HOLE gets filled, gets filled, gets filled, gets filled, gets filled. And now you're able to see yourself as the whole total image, the beautiful image that you are. You always have been.
Mm.
That's what unconditional love does to you. It recollects everything back so you can see yourself as the whole total beautiful being.
And isn't that so much the truth is,
Totally.
you know, bringing every part and parcel of who you were without that judgment, right? Whether it was the wrong decision, a bad decision, a decision that brought you some strife or hardship, all of those decisions can't really be viewed in that way because they wouldn't have brought you to the moment of now.
Exactly. And creation does not judge. Creation does not view bad, evil, good. The whole idea of judgment was created by our society because of separation.
Right.
Creation sees everything as expansion. Everything, everything. If you were Hitler, if you were a victim in a war, if you were a serial killer, if you were a lover, if you were an ascended master, like on the spectrum of what we judge, everything is expansion. Because how else can you expand if you're not experiencing the all? And the all is everything. The all is not just the light. The all is not just the dark. The all is not just like the neutral. It's all.
That's right.
We judge.
There's no
We,
pendulum swing of polarity in totality. It's just everything.
exactly. Exactly.
Thank you again for that message, brother. So there's a lot of stuff coming up in the future, Toni.
Yes.
If people want to come see Toni Ghazi, how do they get a hold of him? Or if they want to have a special session or a channeled session with you, how does one get a hold of Toni Ghazi to get that special moment?
Yes. To get that special moment, you're welcome to come to my website. All the information is there. Firstname, lastname.com, ToniGhazi.com, ToniGhazi.com. All my social media is there. You can click and add and subscribe and all that good stuff. I also have my store for the praying mantis crystal skulls there. I have a list of all my events, the future events that I'm going to be on. Like soon, we're going to add all the podcasts that I've been on, et cetera, et cetera. You have my email there. Please feel free like to email me at any time. I think I have my cell phone there. You're welcome to text me too. So really, like my website is the best way, and it will kind of like feed you into the other tentacles of who I am. Like we can do one-on-one private channeling on Zoom. I do corporate coaching and like executive coaching too. Like we do land healings. We can do a group Zoom session like with friends if it's 5 or 6 or 7 people. Happy to come to your town if you want to do like an event. If you have a space, the world is our oyster. We can create all kinds of
Yes, it
all kinds
is.
of goodies like to make it easy for you. So we can co-create anything for us. You know, if you have a big group of people in like your time in your town, and it's not easy like for you guys to travel or to do Zoom, I'm happy to fly to you guys. Of course, at a small cost, we'll figure those things out. But where I could come, I could channel for you guys, for a group, friends, family, whatever it is. There's no limits in my world on what
And
we
we'll
can
create
create.
a personal retreat for you if you want a personal retreat with Toni Ghazi, with me, and with some of
Yes.
our amazing friends that are in our collective group of energy.
Yes.
We can put something together for you that is very
Totally.
special and that
Totally.
nobody else will do.
And very convenient like for you. This way you don't have to take on the expensive flying, expensive hotels, expensive taking time off. We understand people have kids, they have jobs. Like so we're happy to co-create a great package where you benefit from it and we benefit as well by us flying to you. And we have a whole team of amazing healers, gifted
Mhm.
people, channelers that you know on TV, and we've had the pleasure, like Glenn and I, to really meet some incredible, powerful, beautiful light beings like you are, and we're happy to bring them along and go create a package, special package for you and your community.
All right. So the world is endless. And if you want to see Toni Ghazi, he will be in Sedona, Arizona next week at Suzanne Ross's uh, Ascension retreat
This
this
week,
week.
this
Yeah, I'm
Thursday.
sorry, this week. So
It's okay.
this will be out real soon. So you'll, if you want to go fly and see Toni, that's where he's going to be.
Yes.
Um, and we'll be all over. So look at our websites. We love you. We thank you. Toni, it's always a pleasure. I love you with all my heart, brother. Um, I'm just so grateful that we have just this amazing friendship and that we get to work together and co-create. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, my brother, so very much.
I love you too, Glenn. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your audience. And we're all one and we're always supported, and you're never alone. Ever, 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 ever. There are beings, angels, like deities, all kinds of energies that are always supporting you. So don't forget that.
Mm. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Ascension Stargate podcast series. We'll see you soon. Take care.